and the Son of Man that thou visit him.
Son of man, that thou visit him. Now check this. Let's see. What is man? Let me just bring up the scripture. Okay, so this is like the part 2 right here. We already like in the part 2. I think it only goes like to 50 minutes, maybe not even a full hour, almost like an hour in college. You know,
Okay. Yeah,
it's
school hour.
yeah, like 50 minutes. So you have time, to get to your, next thing, But here. So for ones and ones, we pick up right here. But I think we keep this in the what is man, because that's the vibes right here. The vibes here is like on what is man, what is man, and also the connection of looking kind of down upon man. You know what I mean? How we've been taught to look down upon man. Man always in a fallen condition. Gedla Adam, Bereshit, Genesis, Shoah, and all that. You know what I mean? Humanity, to say in general. You know what I mean? And then it's like this deception that we, look down on man, but we have to ask the question, what is man? Right? What is man? Now, this is a very, very interesting psalm, and there's a verse I want to get to and see what the JW says about it. But that kind of, it might be able to segue to the point of what man really was supposed to be, even with the Gabriel, the man, who we know that Gabriel is also called an angel. But then Gabriel also basically, an angel more simply is a messenger. More simply, keeping it simple. Like my brother say, like concrete on the ground, is a messenger. So let's just replace the word messenger for a moment and think about what a messenger does. You know what I mean? And what a messenger's role is. You know what I mean? Even if it's a heavenly messenger down to earth, to earthly levels. You know what I mean? A messenger brings a what? A message. Some message, or brings something, as it were. So I say that because the whole angel idea would take us. This psalm has something in it about angel too. And I think that not your translation, but the JW translation, compared to KJV, and looking at the Hebrew, is going to bring a powerful insight into what is man, right? But let me just get this right here, just to go along with this reasonment right here, because I got to whip out the Hebrew on this. But it's going through, I'm going to lead up to the verse right here, right? I'm going to lead up to the verse. The verse is the 5th verse. But let's just from the top, it says, to the chief musician upon Gittith. This is a plain, basic King James. A psalm of David. Yahweh, Adonenu, he who be, our sovereign, our master. How excellent is thy name in all the earth, who has set thy glory above the heavens. Out of the mouth of babes and sucklings hast thou ordained strength because of thine enemies, that thou mightest still the enemy and the avenger. When I consider thy heavens, Shemaim, the work of thy fingers, the moon and the stars that thou hast ordained. Here's the key verse here, verse 4. What is man that thou art mindful of him? The Son of Man that thou visitest him. And here's the verse 5. For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, and has crowned him with glory and honor. Now I want to pause at this particular verse right here, going from the question of what is man, that thou art mindful of him, right? And the Son of Man. So what is, let me go back over here. What is Enosh? The Hebrew word here is Enosh. See, people might think it's Adam. There's 3 main words. Well, 4, but let's get those 3 main words. Adam, for man, specifically or generally. And we have Ish, right? Ish as well. Adam first uses Ish. Adam, the gardener, first uses Ish when the woman is brought to him. He says, you be called Isha in the Hebrew, because you came from Ish. Ish is the higher man. Check. Ish is the higher man. Adam is the basic man. It's like the basic, and Ish is like a higher man. Now, Enosh or Enosh, Enosh is mortal man. Is mortal man, All right.
You will like this then. Go ahead. But
Yeah. But that's why I like the JW for real. You know, though I might disagree on certain levels, and but this is interesting. My disagreement with the JW is concerning the Trinity, though I think they are right with a lot of the evidence they bring out about pseudo or counterfeit trinities or other gods. You know what I mean? But their translation it brings out key words that gets lost, right? That we need to know in this time, this generation. So a mortal man, a person. What's interesting is when the Trinity or those three men came to Abraham, and one of them was Jehovah in Genesis, that they're called three mortal men. They're called three mortal men. All right, Shalosh Anashim. I just want to mention that right there. So it says, what is Enosh? Enosh. Remember, Enosh was a son from Adam, right? That thou art mindful of him. The son of man is the Ben Adam, is the son of Adam, that thou visitest him. I point this out because when you're looking at the English, man and man, just looks like man. But the Hebrew is totally different. Bro, can you bring out verse 4 in the JW? I want to zoom in on verse 4 and verse 5 mainly. 5,
okay.
Need to get to 5. But let's do
4 and 5. 4. What is mortal man that you keep him in mind, and a son of man that you take care of him? You made him a little lower than godlike ones, and you crowned him with glory and splendor.
Wow, that's interesting. That's interesting. What is man? What is man? Is man lower than the angels, or is man lower than Elohim? Right? Is man made in the image after likeness of Elohim? And in some cases, as judges, it's called Elohim. But indeed, he made him a little lower than Elohim, godlike beings, and crowned him with glory and honor. Okay, let's look at verse 4 for a quick moment.
But with the godlike ones, could you call them a form of man? Because remember, you start off saying it describes a type of man. When it says what is mortal man, that is a type of man. That's a prototype of man. That's a type.
True.
Would the godlike ones be another type of man?
But that's where I'm trying to get to right here with this, because another way of bringing it out. Where's the Hebrew of this right here? Bring out the Hebrew right here. Ma Enosh, what is Enosh? Mortal man. Ki tizikarenu, that you zakar him, that you remember him. But the word zakar in Hebrew is male, and it also means as a verb to remember, right? It says U ben Adam, and Ben Adam, the son of Adam, right? Ki tifkedenu. Tifkedenu is interesting too, because how they bring it out right here, that you thinkest, you're mindful of him, that you thinkest of him. But this visitus, it's an interesting word, because I heard JW bring out something about Kairos. It's like Kairos, provide for him.
And the son of man, that you take care of him.
Yeah, see the word pakad can mean, the word visit right here, pakad can mean to muster, to attend, to number, to reckon, to visit. It can mean to punish or appoint. It can mean to look after, to care for. So it has an interesting sense. In the Hebrew, it can mean like to number, like in counting. But it can also mean to visit. It almost, it's like if our general comes to visit us, you know what I'm saying? And he's seeing how well ordered we are. So he come to visit, but it can be a friendly visit or a hostile visit. But he's also in that role like an overseer. He cares for, he charges things, you know what I mean? So what's interesting about the verb is use of Elohim's, Jehovah's providential care. of the human being. So in else places, for one to one, look it up, Genesis 21:1 and Exodus 3:16, this same word is used in a sense of like visit. Literally, it's to visit. But by extension, in a positive way, is to care for. But in a hostile way, it can be to punish. So it kind of has like this interesting duality based on the context of the flow of the psalm. We can see it's like, in a care for sense. But the same word can be used like when it says to like visit the sins of the fathers upon the children, visit the sins of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generation.
Yeah.
That visit there is the same word, is visit, but that context there is more like he's gonna show up and sort it out. If it's good, then he care for it. If it's not, then he's gonna punish it because he want things sorted out. He want things like properly accounted for, in that sense. For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels. You see that right here? I'm gonna click on the H430 word, y'all. It's Elohim. It's Elohim. And look, let me scroll down. BDB definition says it's a plural word and means rulers, judges, divine ones. Among other people, it can refer to angels. Among other people who speak a similar language to like the Israelites, it could refer, it's like God. One person say this is their God, other person say their money is their God, So it's like, so it can be gods in that sense. So I wanted just to point out that it's applied to the true God. It's applied to idols. It's not a name. Elohim is not so much a name. It's more like a title. It's like a function. With the Almighty, it is the creator. Elohim is used for the creator, the powers. There it brings out the sense of powers, right? But it also means judge, the judge. So in Hebrew, whenever we use the Elohim name in certain contexts, like look at any of the Psalms that are about judgment, and you'll see where the Elohim name comes in. Whenever it's about like grace and mercy, you know what I mean? You see like the Yahweh, Jehovah, or the Adonai come in. I just want to show that to ones and ones so that ones will understand they even had their culture. There's like a culture to the Hebrew, how people use words, like how we use certain words today. You know what I mean? We have a literal sense and like a figurative sense. But here it says, thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, right, is really more better. Here, it's interesting because the Hebrew English translation says the same thing. But the Hebrew, like they translate it like this. They say, yet thou hast made him but little lower than the angels and has crowned him with glory and honor. That's a translation from the Hebrew. The Hebrew actually says, where's the verse right here? Oh, wate hasarehu me'at, a little, me Elohim, me'at. Me'at is like little me from Elohim. Ma'at me Elohim, like a little from Elohim, right? With kabod and glory, with hadar, honor, te'at rehu. Te'at rehu. At rehu is like to crown, like a wreath. You know how you put a wreath around someone's head? The sense of, the ancient sense of crown. But here it says, Hebrew less than God. So the English translation within the text of the hard copy I have here, it has a little lower than the angels. But the footnote breaking down the Hebrew says that the Hebrew says less than God. So even in the Yehudi, right, in certain Judaic, they didn't want to really say that. They kind of like, kind of have this funny way, not bringing it out as it fully is. But then in the note, the footnote, they'll say, well, actually, the Hebrew says less than Elohim. And
the JW said God-like ones.
They say God-like ones, even though there's no sense of like within the Hebrew, right? But it says there's an obvious reference to Genesis 1:27. Hear the footnote in the Sefer Tehillim, the Yehudi Psalm book. I like this. This was printed around the time of His Majesty, and they have some excellent notes. They even say in Psalm 19, they say the great transgression is rebellion against the King of Kings. I said, whoa. It says there is an obvious reference to Genesis 1:27. 1:27, where he said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. right? Let's create man. First, let's create man. Then in the next verse says, and no. First verse is let's make man, and then he created man in his image after his likeness, right? Where man is declared to have been created in his own image.
Yes.
Notice those two verses in Genesis. They're different. They have different operative words. One says make, right? And the other says create. One says our image, our likeness, and the other says in his image, in his likeness, he made him. In the first verse, 26, he made them, right? In the second verse, it says he made him. Just to point that out. This is the verse they're pointing to. So he was created in his own image. As compared with the rest of the animal kingdom, the human being is on a far higher plane owing to the divine element which is in him. They don't break this down here, but I know what their reasoning, and the reasoning is divine element, image, and likeness is that we have a rational logic. We have ability to a higher mind, to reason and to have logic, and we have the ability to speak. That this is the key, like not just the physical body aspect, but because we have like mind and ability to reason. Like people say about ancient people, they can make tools. When man started to make tools, this is said to signify a higher level. You know what I mean? As we start to make tools, as we start to speak. You know, speaking is an amazing thing, bro. You're right? We can speak and make these sounds, and the other person can get a good approximation of what we mean. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And you can speak in another language and people understand that language, they understand what you mean. Even though you don't, you be like, I don't know what's going on here. You know what I mean? But last point here, it says, for all that he is, me'at me Elohim. He is less than, right? He is less than Elohim, the being who is infinite. Because why? In his own image. You see what I'm saying? Like if you take a picture of yourself, right? I take a picture, it's an image. You see what I'm saying? You know, and even his image that he breathed his breath in, it has life more than the picture, more than a statue, more than an idol. You know what I mean? However, it's still, by virtue of it being made and created by, in their image and likeness and in his own image. So look at the threefoldness right there, right? Made in his image and his likeness, and made in their image and their likeness. Yours?
Yeah.
And crown him with honor, with glory and honor. And then it talks about, now notice when it goes on from here, is everything that was said in Genesis 1. Excuse me, thou mayest have dominion over the works of thy hands. How many of us have dominion over the works of his hands today? Think about it.
And put everything under his feet.
How many of us have all under our feet today? And now it's going to describe what it means, right? All sheep and oxen. You got any sheep and oxen, bro?
No.
Oh, man. Yo. We falling short, man. Yea, the beasts of the field. Yo. Now, notice what the other people do. They go out there in the wild and go with the animals and then, you know what I mean? Grab other people's animals. But it's almost like they're trying to demonstrate, right? That they are like Elohim. You know what I'm saying? Like what? A little less than the fowl of the air and the fish of the sea. And whatsoever passeth through the paths of the seas. And notice how short this psalm is. Yahuwah Adonenu, right? Jehovah Einai Adonai. How excellent is thy name in all the earth. Jehovah our sovereign. How excellent is thy name in all the earth. You know, so this is an interesting psalm here because it says that, notice, made him, right, a little lower, right, than the angels. That's interesting right there. You know what I mean? A little lower than the angels. Go back to verse, chapter 1.
Chapter 1?
Yeah, Genesis 26 again. I want to remind myself. Yeah, the first verse, 126, Elohim said, let us make man, Naaseh, right, in our image, and after our likeness. And then gave them what? Dominion over the fish of the sea. Is that how that reads? Over the fowl of the air. So we know that David know Torah, right? And over the cattle and over all the earth and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. All right? But then notice the next verse. It says, so Elohim created man in his... Now, the word own is not there. The word own, A-O-W-N, is not there. It's italicized in the KJV. It's not there. All right? And Elohim created man in his image. In the image. Notice what it says. In his image. Where's the likeness? In the image of Elohim created he him. Male and female created he them. Notice how it's braided here. You see how it's kind of like braided? He begins off saying make. Make is a clearly different word, and there's a whole interesting teaching. Before you can make anything, right, you have to affect what's already is, right? And usually you would have to create. Create usually is the first process, right? But he says right here in a reasonment, right? Some people say for divine counsel. Some people say he was speaking to the Son. I say he was speaking to Chokmah. He was speaking to our mother. As Yeshua says, wisdom is justified by all of her children. Wisdom says so in Proverbs chapter 8. Go check it out. Let us make man. Let us make man in our together image after, right, or like our likeness. That word after can also mean like our likeness, right? And then because of that, they will have dominion over this. And then it says in the next verse, so he created man in his image. In the image of Elohim created he him. It's like those two part of the verses to the comma and after, it reinforces the idea. Elohim created man in his, not own, but his image. In the image of Elohim created he him. And then get this breakdown. Male and female created he them. It didn't say male and female created he him. Pause. You know what I mean? It says male and female created he them. Created he them. So what is man? That's the question. What is man? And this is the thing that they always say, that Satan, right, want to be like God, right? He want to be like God. He say he will do this. Lucifer do this and do that, right? But that's not man. Over this. Man, according to the pattern, must recognize he was created in Elohim's image.
Exactly.
All right? And then he has to recognize that he was also made in their image and after like their likeness. You know what I mean? What's that? That's we have logos, we have logic, right? We have logic, the logos, right? The word, right? And we have the ability for wisdom. We have the ability to reason. We have the ability to communicate, you know? Because we can create on a level, on our level. We can make things, you know? We can invent things, they call it. You see what I'm saying?
Since we're there in Genesis, right here, right now, I wanted to check something in the Hebrew for me.
What thing? Yes, brother.
Genesis 2, and verse 7.
Wow, that verse is right here. Let me just read the English. And Yahweh Elohim, Jehovah Elohim, the Elohim, formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Okay, let's bring up the Ivrit, the Hebrew, or more correctly, the Yehudit, right? The Judahite, you know. Actually, the form of Hebrew that we have these ancient scrolls of is actually Judah, the way Judah spoke Hebrew. But it's basically, you can say good Hebrew still. It says, Wayitzer, let me just go over, Wayitzer Yahuwah Elohim et ha'adam afar min ha'adama. Wayipach be apayo neshama chayim. Wayehi ha'adam linefesh chaya. So a breakdown, and Jehovah Elohim, right? And he who he be, the powers, right? He Wayitzer. Wayitzer from Yatzar kind of means to squeeze, right? But it means to form, to fashion. But in its most archaic form, it's like to squeeze. Like, when you squeeze something, like you're forming it, to fashion, right? To form, to fashion, to squeeze. You're squeezing into shape. He like squeezed into shape, right? But it can also have a sense, right? That's literal. In a figure of speech, it's like to reform someone, to mold them, right? Right? Almost like a potter in that sense. And in the figurative sense, that's to determine, when you determine something. So literally, it's like if you have a potter and he has clay, that's what you're doing. You're squeezing and forming a shape. In a figure of speech, using the word figuratively, it's like to determine, like you form a resolution. You see what I'm saying? You form a resolution. Like, yeah, form a resolution. So that's the first word right there. That's what he did. He formed man, right? I like to say he reformed man, right? Et ha'adam, afar. The afar is like dust. It's dust. Dust, afar. Now it's interesting that one of the oldest tribes in the world, they say, are the Afar of Ethiopia, right? Of the Horn of Africa. But it can mean like dry earth, dust, some powder in a sense, ashes, earth, ground, mortar, in a symbolic, like rubbish, but it's like dirt or loose earth, debris, mortar, ore, right? But I have a theory, a reasoning on this right here, that actually that man is made from cosmic dust. Dust that comes from the heavens. You know what I mean? In our bodies, the majority of our bodies have elements that actually originate in the heavens. So the dust, let me go through it. The dust, right? We'll come back to this. The dust, it says the Afar. Afar mean ha'adama. The dust from the Adama, the Adama. The Adama is that reddish brown ground. The Adama is Adam's mother. I say the Adama is Adam's mother because Adama is feminine as Adam. So like if you had two children and they were twins and you wanted to name one like Adam, you could name the other Adama, right? So he formed man from the dust, I say cosmic dust, of the Adama, of the reddish brown ground. Wayipach, and he breathed, pach, bit apayo, in his nostrils, into his nostrils, neshama. Neshama is breath, neshama. In Hebrew, sometimes ones will refer to neshama as like a second soul. A second soul. There's some Hebraic and Judaic like prayers upon rising where one gives thanks, to Yahuwah, the eternal King, for restoring like their soul, their breath to them, right? Neshama Chayim is the breath of lives. It's translated as the breath of life, but in Hebrew it would be the breath of lives in the plural sense, or enough life, right? Neshama Chayim. Wayehi, and he became, and Yehi, and he became Ha'adam, the man, Lenefesh, of soul, Chaya, living. Nefesh is feminine, of a soul, a psyche, Chaya. Chaya is like the feminine form of life, Chai. Chai is life, Chaya is a feminine sense. So he became a living soul. It's interesting because he became he became one that possesses a nefesh chaya, like a living soul. But remember, living soul is feminine. So there's an interesting braiding right here.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because but part of the reason I kind of wanted to touch on that too. I know you was going to touch on it anyway, but I kind of wanted to get it in before we forget. Is that, you know, in the Gnostic writing, when they speak about this part of the story in the Gnostic writing, the breath of life was actually in this story. The breath of life was actually blown into Adam by wisdom.
Is it wisdom? Because I know there's different
Holy Spirit.
Gnostic. Okay.
Yeah, the Holy Spirit, which is you know in like in that thing is wisdom.
Well, in the Hebrew, that can be true because breath, neshama, is feminine, and soul is also feminine there. Though chayim, lives, is masculine. It's an interesting way the Hebrew works, but we can see that if we saw it in that sense, all this like sexism and schism could not be there if we're faithful to the truth. You know what I mean? Because we see how it's all kind of braided. You know, I'm going to keep using that term, braided. It's kind of interwoven there. You know what I mean? Like if every man recognized from a Hebraic perspective that his soul is feminine, you know, even the breath there. Now, then you say you hate feminine.
Certain things cannot be separated. No matter what you do, certain things just cannot be separated. And the reason they cannot be separated is because you didn't put it together.
What is man? Check this out right here. What is man? What is man right here? What are you made of? Most elements of the body, most of the elements that make up the human body were formed in the stars. Oxygen.
Vaughn said that we are the walking cosmos.
Akebeka. Yes, I. Baruch.
We're the walking cosmos right here, you know.
That's interesting because this still that I got some stills the other day because I was actually on a medi about the afar, the dust. You know? Then I remembered the Holy Spirit brought to mind cosmic dust. You know what I mean? And then I went to the Torah and looked again. I said, Chan, you see it there, right? Because from the general humanity that was created on the sixth day, Yahweh Elohim, right, formed or reformed a man from the what? From the dust. Remember, the Afar is also a tribe in Ethiopia, ancient, they say like an ancient people. You know, from the scientists and people who do those sort of studies, they say seem to have very ancient DNA. And guess where they dwell? They dwell in a place that's like dust.
Yeah.
You know? But then the Adamah refers to a certain type of ground, reddish brown ground, that clay-like ground. You know, so, you know, the details are not overtly given, but we can either see it as there was no man to tend a garden. He gave man dominion over everything. Dominion. You know what I mean? Yet, being one who has dominion over the fish, the birds, the animals, the beasts, the creeping things, and gardening a garden, being a gardener is two different disciplines. I don't know if one-to-one's over is what I mean. It's two different disciplines. It's almost like Esau and Jacob on a certain level.
Yeah.
They're the two different manner of people. And exactly. If you were to take from one, right? If you were to take, say, from the Esau and you wanted to make a Jacob, you would really have to like you would have to form. You have to reform. You know what I mean? Because remember, there was no man. It says it didn't say there was no man at all, but there was no man to till the garden, to tend to the garden. That's basically being a gardener. Now think about the last Adam. Mary Magdalene saw him in the garden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Saw him in the garden. He was a gardener. Was that to tell us something too? That he was in the garden? You see what I'm saying? Because a garden is a very special type of cultivated place. It's if you look at Jehovah, like Jah in the scripts, he told the Israelites, yo, I want you to make me a sanctuary, right? And that sanctuary, and then how Israel was supposed to be, like his garden. But before Israel came along, wasn't there the Egyptians, the Assyrians, the Babylonians? There was ancient kingdoms, man, ancient empires, right?
Yep.
Way before. But then it's like he forms from the humanity that was there before for a special purpose, a special people, right? By this Adam right there, you know? But then something happens, you know what I'm saying? But who's to say that was not in the foreknowledge? You know it was in the foreknowledge. You know what I'm saying? This is here to teach us, you know what I mean? To teach us something. You know, so man, though we're on earth, the majority of even the elements, a great majority in our bodies, have their origination from what ones would call the heavens. You know? You know, from the heavens. So what is man that thou art mindful, you know, of him, you know? But yeah, that verse right there is an important verse right there, because some say this is where man, you know, we see kind of separation. Like, you know, archaeology talks about all these bones they be finding, right? But no, I think some of the bones are legit. I don't agree with their narrative because they're trying to spin something to us. So I generally don't agree with that, because sometimes when you look at it, a lot of the evidence, some evidence actually confirms the scripture, but they try to, like, you know, dismiss it on a certain level, you know. But it's very clear, you know, we talked about this before, about the time factor. Some people say every day was 1,000 years because of a verse that says a day with the Lord is as 1,000 years. Well, when it says 1,000, it could be 10,000, 1,000. You know what I mean? What's 1,000? Well, that's like a million. It could be 1,000,000 years. You see what I'm saying? See, the clock only begins when they get kicked out the garden. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This whole 6,000, 7,000 year thing only begins when man gets kicked out of the garden. That's when the clock begins to tick. You know, 5,500 years Messiah. You know what I mean? And then after that, you know, there's said to be this like a 2,000 years plus. That's interesting. How long was it supposed to be after Yeshua?
And no one knows how long they were in the garden before they fell.
Exactly. Those details are not given because it's not really important to the main point. If you notice, it's not really important. Okay, say it was 500 billion years. Okay, but how does that change what's going on right now? How does that address the situation, the condition today? You know? But yeah, so yeah, he planned that, and he put the man there. He put the man who he had formed, which the man who he had formed, listen, there is created, there is forming, there is, creating, making, forming. No, actually, the order would be creating, emanating, right? Forming and making. The emanating is like when he speaks, when Jehovah speaks. The word emanates. It comes forward, like light comes forward from above, like heat come from a stove or a fire. It's like words come from man. When the word is spoken, remember it says, in the beginning the word was with Elohim, right?
Yes.
And the word was Elohim. So look at that right there. Now, according to the new covenant, that word, right? That word is Yeshua incarnate, right? That's who the word is. You know what I mean? So if we say that Yeshua before his incarnation, what the new covenant is teaching us is that word that was with the Father. So every time the Father spoke to have something done, it's in essence that pre-incarnate Yeshua at work before taking on the body, you know, or tabernacle of a man. within the narrative. You know what I mean? It's that word. And the word always is accompanied with spirit. I always like to say this. You can't speak a word without spirit, without breath.
Exactly.
So man became a kind of a thinking and more of a thinking and more of a, because who knows if the other ones could speak? The other men from before. Who knows if it was even necessary? You know what I mean? Even before. But having dominion over all the earth and being able to tend to a garden is two different things. Just want to point that out right there. But yes, my brother, this reason here on the Elohim part, I know I didn't touch on that about the gods, because when you want to say, well, Haile Selassie is God, within the context of God in the scripture. And I think I'm going to get this one verse right here. I wonder what JW brings out. JW might bring out, okay,
Where are you going?
Exodus 22:28. So within the true context, yes, he is, because he's a ruler and a judge, and because of the lineage, the lineage, the proofs and articles of witness, where it says, thou shalt not revile the gods, nor curse the ruler of thy people.
This says, you must not curse God, nor curse a chieftain amongst your people.
That's interesting right there. And let's bring out the Hebrew of this right here. It says, some other translators translate that too. It says, Elohim lo tikalel. Elohim lo don't tikalel. Tikalel from kalal is like to slight somebody, to be swift, to trifle. Like you treat somebody like of no account. Like almost like the diss, or treat something like insignificant, treat someone insignificant, but that can lead to contempt and therefore to curse. And then it says right here, it says, anasi, be'amika, of your people, be'amika lo taor, right? And not to taor. Taor come from arar. Arar kind of means to curse, to curse, to extricate, like to speak, like to damn. Like today we use the term like to damn. You be damned, somebody be damned on that particular level right there. Kind of like the polar opposite of bless on that level. So, but this is taken right here. Hebraically, this verse is taken right here to refer to the judges, right? Because elsewhere you'll find in the law where it says, and you will bring him before the gods, right? Or the Elohim, right? And that is to say the judges of Israel, are considered the gods, because they judge on behalf of God. That's the link there with Psalm 82. Right? That's the link there with Psalm 82. This written like this. Now, though it says God in that sense, the context is a dual context right here. Thou will not revile the justice, to say justice. The Elohim Hebraically referred to the judges of Israel, right? The judges of Israel were called the Elohim. That's why if you notice when she says, your God will be my God, your Elohim, my Elohim, she didn't say your Jehovah or Jehovah, your Elohim. She didn't pronounce the name. You have to remember that was back in the days of the judges. And the judges, a lot of this was still more fresh with the people. You know what I'm saying? Because they had not long received this, and everything of the experience kept it fresh. Over time, You know, still there was uckery, but over time you get to see, you know, a lot of that come in. But she's saying that not to, you know, that she will not go after her judges. You know, basically it was almost a proxy to saying God, because those who are ruling on behalf of him, for example, let me bring this up right here. Psalm 82. Because Psalm 82 is the one that confuses people. Otherwise, who is it talking to? I've said ye are gods. It didn't say I've said you are sons of God, but I've said you are gods. Because life and death decisions were in the hands of the judges. The safety of the people, it's like when people say no justice, no peace. You know? And people say, well, no one can judge me. But then you can be judged. You know? And they can execute a sentence of judgment too. And what are people going to say? That's the law. You violate the law. You know, so the judges, the gods of the people, you know, are their judges as well. You know, that's why if we look at what's going on with the justice, the injustice system of things.
Yo, that's some powerful thing we looking at right there. This thing say, I read it from the JW. They say, I have said you are gods. All of you are sons of the Most High. But you will die just as men do.
Yeah.
And like any other prince, you will fall.
I've said ye are gods. And the JW says the same thing there, right?
Yeah, I have said you are gods.
You are Elohim, but it's the same Elohim. It's the same Elohim term. But it says all of you are children of Elyon, of the highest, the Most High. But
right.
See, but you shall die as men. So many people have a theory that the gods spoken of here are like the fallen angels or other people's gods or whatever. No, because go to the beginning of the psalm. The beginning of the psalm is interesting. It's a short psalm, but it's Lukubatawa. It says, God standeth, a psalm of Asaph. God standeth in the congregation of the mighty. He judgeth among the gods. But you know the word mighty is El. Right? So it says that Elohim standeth in the congregation of El. So El is like when we say Hayel, El would be like the root of Elohim. But El is singular. You know what I mean? El has a singular sense. Right? So it's like Elohim are the judges. The judges, they stand in the congregation of El. Of God the Father, like to say. And he judgeth among the gods. He is judging among his sons, the Elohim, the sons of Israel. Let's say the sons of Israel. And he begins. He says, how long will ye judge unjustly and accept the persons of the wicked? You know what I mean? This is what...
Right there, it says, I read the first 1 and 2. It said, God takes his place in the divine assembly, in the middle of the gods, he judges. How long will you continue to judge with injustice and show partiality to the wicked? Selah.
Boom. Boom. See that? It's like when in court, you know when they have counts? They say, how many counts you got? You know, like I tell you, I got 7 counts. That's a lot, right? Somebody got 10 counts. You know, different things that you're being charged, like a person being charged with. So this is now Israel and its judges. And going on, it says, defend the poor and fatherless. Oh, pause for a moment. The judges. Does it say judges in the JW?
Yeah.
Boom. That's so interesting. The JW, let me go back here. You see, he judges among the gods, but JW takes the word gods in its true Hebraic sense in this context, which is the Elohim, right, as not referring to the Elohim that standeth, right? The Elohim that standeth. You know how we know it's a singular? Elohim Nitzab. Nitzab, if it was speaking of many Elohim, it will say Nitzabim. Elohim Nitzabim. But because it says Elohim Nitzab, it's saying Elohim, the powers, he stand. He stand. Ba'adat El, in the assembly, the witness of El, of the most of the all. Well, I say Almighty from the sense of El is like Hayel, Hayel, El, Ayele, right? It says Bikareb Elohim, in the midst of Elohim, the judges, Yishpot, he judges, right? So as he goes on in his judgment here, and then the judges, if you go to Exodus 21 and 6, this is for the ones and ones listening, Exodus 22, 7, 8, and 27, 1 Samuel 2:25. Maybe another time we go into those in detail, where it shows that the judges were called the Elohim, referred to as Elohim. Why? Because it was up to them to carry out Elohim's law among his people.
And what they're doing? Showing partiality to the wicked.
Yeah, that's a violation right there of Leviticus 19:15, where it says, "Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor show favor to the person of the mighty, but in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor."
But check this too. We sitting there asking,
what is man?
What is man, right? And we just go in the scriptures and we will see stories about what going on in the heavens and certain things, what play out in the heavens amongst them up there. What difference between what they dealing with up there and what we dealing with down here? The same kind of behavior, the same kind of attitude, the same kind of rebellion, the same kind of disrespect.
You gotta ask a man.
Same kind of disobedience.
You gotta ask a man, Gabriel. You know what I'm saying? The man Gabriel. Right? Right? We know at least from the scripts and in the vision that was all cast down. That's why I say rejoice heavens, because that the accuser of the brethren, Satan, the accuser of the brethren is cast out. But it says woe. It said woe to those who dwell on earth.
But that's the thing right there, because so on earth, so in heaven, right? And so in heaven, so on earth, right? Well, like the folly was going on earth, that same kind of folly went on in heaven.
Yeah, but check this out. Heaven cast that out.
House in heaven and all. Heaven clean house and all.
So now earth got a clean house. That's what's lacking for the balance, to balance the equation.
Okay.
Right? That's why this judgment is hot right here. Corrupt judges are arraigned. It said, deliver the poor and needy, rid them out the hand of the wicked. They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundation of the earth are out of course. See these two verses right here, deliver the poor and needy. So this is what they should have been doing. You know what I'm saying? And this is also for I and I, right? Because we have his name.
You know, the foundation is out of course. They said the foundation of the earth are being shaken.
Out of course. Let's see right here. Yeah, the word mot. Mot is to totter, to shake, to slip. Yeah. Things slipping. You know, falling in the sense of slipping, like something slip off of it. Yeah. Waver, to waver. Yeah. To waver, to totter. But look what it says, they know not. See, the regular people, why you think Yeshua, Adonai no Getachin Jesus, why you think he rebuked the Pharisees, scribes, and the other religious leaders? because they knew. Remember when he said that you have the keys of the kingdom?
Yep, and you would not enter, but you would not let anyone enter.
Who wants to enter? You know what I mean? Chan, right here, here. This thing is about to, I think this thing is about to seal up right here, you know, on this right here. Because I look at the time, we really went into that.
Why to catch something in Ecclesiastics before we leave out there. I don't know if we got time to catch Ecclesiastics 12.
Go ahead, bring it.
Ecclesiastics 12, 13 and 14.
Okay, sound it. I'll catch up. Yeah.
Okay. Ecclesiastes 12, 13. As for anything besides these, my son, be warned. To the making of many books, there is no end. Much devotion to them is wearisome to the flesh. The conclusion of this, the conclusion, this is where we want to get to here, the conclusion of the matter, everything being heard is fear of true God and keep his commandments. For this is the whole obligation of man. So, if we follow the obligation of man, I feeling that is telling us that is our pathway back to attaining the likeness of the Most High.
Oh, Chan, the thing.
And fulfilling the completion of what man really is.